when you launch a new campaign or you launch a new initiative for maybe yourself personally or for your team. Those first 30 days, everyone's excited because it's new, but more importantly, it's the focus of everyone. We're talking about it all the time. We're thinking about it all the time, and we start seeing results. But eventually we all hit the wall. Either we hit the wall because we're moved on to another new initiative, or maybe there's doubt. We're not seeing the results. They're not coming as easy as we think. And we start to give up. When in reality, that's the time that we have to double down on our efforts to push through, to break through that wall. So how do you do that? Especially if you're a new leader, how do you help your team get through that wall? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in today's solo episode of You're in Charge, Now What? So let's dive in and let's get you some tips and strategies. All right, welcome to this solo episode of You're in Charge, Now What? I'm your host, Glenn Pash. And today we're focusing on how to be more consistent, how to break through that wall that we hit to be more consistent when we don't see the results coming as easy as we thought. So for example, you've created a new initiative for your team. Maybe it's a new sales process. Maybe it's a new client process, customer experience process. And you've done everything to get everyone off on the right foot. Now, we've had many episodes where we've talked about what a manager should do in the first 30, 60 days, how to install a new process. We've had some great interviews about this. I'll link a few of them into the show notes so it's easy for you to reconnect with those episodes, because if you've done that correctly and you've launched everything, understand that your focus as the leader is where your team is going to put their focus. So if this new initiative is all about, whatever new results you want to achieve, and every day you're talking about it in meetings, you're checking up on it multiple times a day, your team knows this is important to you. So they're going to make sure it's important to them. They're going to put in the efforts. Again, we like new things. Why do you think there's so many new gym memberships come Christmas or New Year's, and then they fail or fall off by March? Because at the end of the year or whatever milestones we have, everybody looks at it and says, we're going to make a change. And there's always a plan. And maybe there's a new app that you're using on your phone to help you work out. But eventually, the monotony, the consistency, the excitement, all of that starts to wear on you a little bit. Or maybe the results, maybe you're not seeing the pounds drop off as fast as they did initially. So you start doubting. Same thing, maybe you're not seeing those sales numbers or that revenue generated, or customers are telling you how great your experience is. All of a sudden, it just becomes part of the day-to-day. And that's the danger point. That's what we need to make sure that we're aware of. We have a plan to make sure we can get through that. Because if we started this new initiative, whatever it is, there is a reason you started it. It was important to you or to your team or to your business to make this change for the success for long term for your company, for your team, for you personally. So what happens? How do we break through? How do we not let that process go to the wayside? Or you hear yourself saying, oh yeah, we used to do something like that. If it was important to you, it should always be important. Now, again, remember what I said, where your focus is, that's where the focus of the team will be. So how do you keep that consistency going and that focus if now you've moved on to another new initiative? Well, that's a really good point. What you need to do is understand that eventually the wall will come for everybody. It will come. It may be 30 days, it may be 60 days, maybe 90 days, but it will come. And usually it's because you as the leader have moved your focus onto a new project. Because everyone's going, well, if that's now important, does this become less important? And in most cases, no, this is just adding on. We've adjusted our efforts. We've generated a new way to deliver results. That's not changing. We are adding something on. We're going off and we're adjusting another piece of our business or process. It doesn't mean that we drop the other one, but that's up to you as a leader to make sure that you're still talking about this first initiative. You're still bringing up the actions. You're still bringing up the results. You're still talking about it. Maybe you're not checking in on it 3 times a day, 4 times a day. Maybe you're checking in on it once a week. That's okay. The minute that you stop checking is the minute it's not important to your team because it's not important to you. So again, keep that consistency going. Know that they're going to hit the wall. And through consistency of your efforts, your focus, it could be less. Remember, it's not a zero-sum game where I can only focus on one thing at a time. Now, I had a guest maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago, Brian Kramer, who's an executive vice president at cars.com. He was explaining that when he was in the dealership as a general manager working in an automotive dealership, he would say that new salespeople would hit that wall between 6 and 9 months. It was very important, 6 to 9 months, because the first 3 months, everybody was excited about new things. 3 to 6 months, they were getting in the rhythm and doing things. But between 6 and 9 months, either just becoming part of the team and they weren't new anymore, and that newness of the job wore off, or in his case, he was saying some of the older, more veteran employees were saying, well, try this, try that, try this. And the processes that were delivering results to them started getting convoluted. And he had to jump in between those 6 and 9 months to get everyone back to square one, get back on the processes that were delivering success, or else that's where he said he saw a lot of job turnover. Once they got past those 9 months and then went on 9 to 12 months, he goes, then my team stayed with me, but he knew where that wall was. So it was important for him to get back to it. So same thing for you. It may be 30 to 60 days. That's where the drop off is. It could be 60 to 90 days, but you need to understand it. But it's usually predicated by your focus. You've moved on, your team is moving on, and that newness falls off. Why? Because it isn't sexy anymore. It's not the new thing. It just is. So again, think about working out. That's why people or trainers will say, change your routine, change your workout program every 6 months, every 3 months, every 4, whatever. I'm not a trainer, but I've had a trainer and that's what they said. We have to break it up or else it becomes boring. The minute it becomes boring, you will not put in the effort. You will start finding excuses or reasons for you to not do something because other things are starting to become a priority. You can't make everything a priority, but you can make a lot of things into your routine. And that's the key. We have to check on the routine. So you as a leader, even if you've moved on to a new initiative, you have to have a routine where we keep everything in place, right? So again, just to summarize, when we plan a new initiative, we're going to talk about the what, why, and how. I'll link a couple episodes just to remind you of how to create and install a process. Your excitement in those first initial time period, let's call it 30 days, your focus is going to be about launching this initiative. You're going to be talking about it every single day. You're going to probably check in on it multiple times a day. You're going to be talking to your employees and getting their feedback on this process until it starts to become routine and you start backing away. And now you're thinking, well, this is running well enough that I can start focusing over here. That's your warning. As soon as you start having that conversation in your head, now this is running well, I can move over here. That's where you have to pay attention to say, yes, I can go over and start this new initiative, but how do I still keep focused on this? So maybe it's once a day, 2 times a week, once a week. It doesn't matter. Just understand the minute you stop focusing on it or talking about it or measuring it, it will not become important to your employees anymore because they want to please you as the leader. And where your focus goes, their focus goes as well. Understand that. We will all hit the wall. But the most successful teams, the most successful businesses, the most successful leaders push through that wall, push through that boredom, push through the non-sexy times by just committing to the process, maybe reminding themselves, why did they start this initiative in the beginning? And sometimes that's a good thing, going back to the roots and looking at your process and seeing, did I drift off of that process? Because initially you were getting results. You may have complicated it. So go back, simplify your efforts, go back to the basics, understand why you started it in the first place, and just commit to the consistency of effort, to the process, to the results, and you will fight through. Sometimes when you're hitting that wall, what's on the other side is a new level. Remember that. When you're hitting that wall, your body, your mind, your effort is starting to say, we got to push to that next level. We're going to need more. But it's that repetition of that consistency that's going to allow you to break through. And then all of a sudden, your results will start moving up to another level. And that excitement will come back because you're going to start seeing a change. You're going to see that consistency. And what will happen is, even if you take a step backwards, it will not be where you started. I'll give you an example to close this out. I went into one of my clients and we installed a new process. And that first month, I was focused on it. The team was focused on it. Everybody was excited about it. And they increased their sales by almost 50%. Everybody had a record month. They thought it was fantastic. That next month, they started doubting. People started talking about new things, changing. And I had to bring people back to the process and say, we're not talking about this enough, and get people refocused. And yes, they stepped back a little bit. They didn't continue to go up because they started doubting the process. Once we caught it, we got everybody back on track. While they didn't have as good a month as that month, they were way better still than the previous months. So maybe now from their initial starting point, they were up only 30% versus 40%, but they didn't drop back to where they were because that effort, that commitment to the process, were fighting through the doubts. This isn't working. This isn't as easy as it was. This is getting boring. Once they fought through it and realized this process isn't changing, this is the way we do business now, they recommitted themselves. And now this current month, at the time of recording, they are on pace to have even a better month because they fought through the wall. They fought through that this isn't going to change. This is the way we do business. The leadership held them accountable, refocused everyone, and now it is part of their routine, but they still need to make sure that they're talking about this routine, talking about the way they do business. It just is part of their day-to-day so that we don't forget. We don't allow ourselves to get distracted and give up on what will bring us long-term success. So I hope you found that valuable. Again, I appreciate you being here. If you did find value, please share it out. I'm sure there's someone in your network that could benefit from this conversation. As I said, I do this because I want to help you achieve the success you want, both personally and professionally, as a new leader or even as an experienced leader. This is a really good reminder because sometimes we do take this for granted. So don't forget to subscribe. We're here every single week with new episodes. I have some new great conversations in the pipeline with some authors, leaders, creators, business CEOs to help, again, bring these conversations to you, to give you tactical strategies to help you become the leader that you want to be. So again, thank you so much for your attention. It means the world to me. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of You're in Charge Now What? And as I say at the end of every episode, you are in charge. So make sure that you apply these things, allow yourself to get through to achieve that success. Thanks so much. See you next time.